Welcome back, everybody. Now we're going to start working on the cuff pieces, which is piece number 7 for dress B. Off camera, I have already done the interfacing on our two pieces for each sleeve. And so now we're going to start working on the cuff. We're at step number 27 now. Is saying to press under a half inch on the notched edge of the cuff facing. Um, our notched edge is here. As you can see there. This is our notched edge. And then we're going to trim that down to 3/8 of an inch. And then with the right sides together, we're going to pin the facing to the cuff. And then we're going to stitch around the unnotched edge and ends. And then we're going to trim the seam. So let's go ahead and get our pressing done on this notched edge. First, what I'm going to do is I am going to let's move these pieces out of the way. I'm going to mark the half inch. I'll mark it in a couple of places here around the edge. So I can see where to actually fold down here. So let's get our ruler and an ink pen. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit on our camera here. All right. So we want to do, we're going to be pressing under a half of an inch. So this is 1 inch here, so a half is right here. So let's just mark that in a couple places. I probably would normally just use chalk, but this is interfacing. It's gonna get covered anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. And then we'll use our all metal pins to get that folded and pressed. Just gonna stick a pin right here to kind of hold our place. one more here, just until we can get that pressed down. Another pin here. Let's reposition this guy. We didn't catch underneath here. Okay. I'll get one more down here on the end. Okay. All right. And then let's also go ahead and do our other cuff as well. Here's the notched edge here. I'm gonna mark it 1/2 inch. Okay. And then we're just going to fold Alright, let's do some pins to hold our spot here. Oops. That pin must not be sharp. Time for some new pins, or either to use the pin sharpener. Okay, and then I put one here on the end. And another one on this end, just to keep this down while we press. Okay. So there's our 1/2 inch that's turned in. So let's get our iron ready. Okay. And it's just gonna take a little second for it to heat up, because we are using very, very low heat. And there it is. So I'm just going to press. And then I'm just gonna move these pins and press again one more time. Okay. That's pressed. Let's do our other piece. Same thing. Gonna remove the pins here and then do one more press. Okay. And that is pressed as well. All right. And so next, so after we got those pressed, it says to trim to 3/8. So we're just gonna take a little bit off of here. So let's see, 3/8. So half of that would be like 1/4. 3/8 is just about 4/8. 3/8 is about, puts us about, just do about here. So basically kind of trim that in half. So I'm gonna take your scissors. I'm just gonna trim that down. Okay, so got that one trimmed, and then we'll trim down our other piece. Maybe give it another little press. Okay. Here's our other piece. I'm gonna trim, like we said, trim about half here. Just gonna try to open this out a little bit. I may have should have just used my fabric rotary cutter. That probably would have been the best idea, but that's okay. We're just trimming here. Okay. And then we'll give it another little press just to lock everything in. Okay, so we're gonna set our iron to the side. Put our ironing board back here. So now we have our 2 pieces here. All right, so next, so we pressed under, we trimmed down, and then now it says with right sides together, we're gonna pin the facing to the cuff, so that it's gonna require us to get the other pieces. So right sides would be this, right sides together. Would be like so. And then we will pin, and then the stitching will be the stitching we're going to pin, and then we're going to stitch here because this will be open here. So let's actually, I'm going to flip this over. And let's go ahead and pin. Just throw a couple in here. Just trying to check and make sure everything's still lined up pretty good here, since we have we're working with several layers now. We have 2 pieces of fabric and a piece of interfacing, so just trying to keep everything smooth and together. Okay, we got that one pinned, and then let's pin our other one here. And we want right sides together. And just lining this up here, this side. Okay. All right, so we got our two cuffs pinned. And so now we're gonna go ahead and head over to our sewing machine where we're going to run a stitch on our unnotched edges. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, we are back over here at our sewing machine. We're gonna do a 5/8 stitch and run all the way along this cuff. So let's do that. Okay. Let's check our pivot. I think that is right on it there. Move our pin. Another pin here out the way. Let's readjust a little bit to try to make sure we stay on that 5/8. Checking our pivot. Nope, definitely got to go down a little bit more. Let's check again. More. Oh, a little too far, so I'm gonna be back up a little bit. Just go one. There we go. Take out that pin. So that's one cuff done. Now let's grab the other and do the same. Okay, we're gonna be at 5/8 again. Putting our foot down here. Take out our pin. Okay, coming up on our corner. Let's go down a little bit and then let's check. See where we are. And go down a little bit more. Maybe a couple of stitches. I think that's good. Remove that one and try to stay straight here. My cutting isn't exactly straight. See, coming up on our pivot. Let's check to see where we are. And down a couple more stitches. Maybe one more. I think that's good. Take out our pins. Do a couple of back stitches. Okay. Alright. So we got that stitched, and we're going to says to understitch the lower edge of the cuff facing as far as possible, turn cuff and then press. So let's take a look at that back at the table. Okay, we are back over at the table. So we're gonna do a couple things now that we're over here. Um, First, take the strings off here, and then also the instructions want us to trim down our seam allowances here. Um, so let's do that. Okay, got everything trimmed. So now we're gonna trim our seam allowances on our pieces here. So let's do that too. So I'm just trying to get as close as I can without cutting my seam, because we're gonna have to turn this whole thing in. Okay. And now let's cut our other piece, trim it down as well. Okay. Just gotta clean up a little bit over here on the side. Okay, so now we have our pieces with our trim edges, our trim seams, and now we're going to it wants us to next understitch the lower edge of the cuff facing as far as possible, and then turn cuffs and press. So basically I think we're going to be putting a stitch here on this lower edge, try to get as close as possible, because we will have to leave a little bit of opening here in order to be able to actually do to turn the cuff. So let's go ahead and head back over to sewing machine and get that going. Okay, so now that we'll take just one of the cuffs here. So we've already trimmed our seam allowances down. So now we're going to, it wants us to understitch here the lower edge of the cuff facing as far as possible. And then we're going to turn the cuff and press. So let's, basically we're going to take the cuff, try to do an understitch here, and we can only go so far for that understitch, like so. So let's go head over to the sewing machine, try to put that understitch in, and we'll head back. All right, so we are here at the sewing machine. Preparing to do our understitch. So let's go ahead and work on that. All right, it's a little bit of an awkward position, but we'll make do. And I think I trained my seam allowances a little too much, to be honest. But yeah, we'll work it out. And back stitch. Just trying to make sure we're not catching the other piece of fabric under here. And we'll go as far as we can go. Readjusting a little bit because I got a little bit off there. There we go. Back on. And I think I can go a little bit further. Just making sure. And I think that is where I'm going to stop because it's starting to wrinkle up a little bit here. So let's do a back stitch and get out of here. Okay, and let's head back over to the table. All right, we are back at the table here. So we just did our understitch. We are able to get about from here to here worth of an understitching. So hopefully that's enough to do what we need to do. And so so now that we've understitched the lower edge of the cuff facing, as far as possible, we're going to turn the cuff and press. So let's go ahead and turn the cuff. And I'll see a couple of strings that I'll need to clip a little bit here from our understitch. So let's go ahead and trim those off. Okay, and then I'll use my turning tool here to make sure we get those corners out how we need to. Just gotta be very careful not to poke a hole in anything here. And just making sure that corner is fully out. here so we can have a nice straight press. Okay. All right, so let's pull our iron down over here so we can do that press. Okay. And we're just trying to make sure we give them a nice press, make sure we're nice and flat. Okay, looks pretty good there. Let's see if we can press that under stitch. I'm gonna pull my fabric a little bit. Let's see if we can get that lay down a little bit more. Okay, so we got a nice press there. All right, that cuff. And yeah, so next steps, let's basically we're going to get the cuff pinned to the actual sleeve, and so let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna clear off, turn our iron off here, and push our ironing board back, and let's grab one of our sleeves. Let's review our instructions as well. I'll throw those up on the screen here. So we are at step number 29, and it says, with the right sides together, pin the cuff to the sleeve, pulling up, gathering stitches to fit, put it a stitch, and then keeping the press edge of the facing free. So this is the pressed edge here, so we're gonna try to keep that free. So let's grab one of our sleeves. Pressed edge here. Grabbing one of our sleeves, and let's see if we can get everything pinned properly. All right, so the bottom here is where all the gathering is. Let me adjust the camera so we can see. There we go. Since the sleeves are a bigger piece here, I'm gonna move the ironing board out of the way. So here's our sleeve with our gathers. So it says with the right sides together. So what I think I'm gonna do is gonna take the sleeve right sides together. sleeve, and all of our gathering strings here. Just trying to make sure we pull those out of the way. Let me trim that string here. Just making sure that they're not our gathering strings, which I don't think they are. Okay, so it says, so the end so we will be doing, alright, so we'll be pinning like so, because it says right sides together, and then let's see if we got any matching notches here. I don't think so. Just trying to check. No, we don't have any notches. Okay, that's fine. But so basically I'm gonna do this. And so we gotta pull the gathers in enough to be able to fit around this cuff here. So that is quite a bit of gathering. So it's gonna be like this. So let's just go ahead and, since it looks like we got quite a bit we need to pull in here, let's go ahead and give it a tug. To our other side too. Just gonna work around and around and around. Just take our time. See if we can pull any on this side too. Okay, let's see how we're looking. Might be a little bit easier if I go ahead and pin one side. Let's try that. I grab my pins here and just gonna put a couple in here to try to get things lined up. And we'll readjust them after we get the gathering done. And let's see how much of the other side we can get to. Just pinning. I'm also kind of looking too to make sure that my cuff lines up here. That looks pretty good. So let's just see what's going on here on the inside with our gathers. I think if I turn it here, I can kind of see a little bit better what's going on. Just gonna try to pin what we have going on here. Then maybe we can see if we need any more or less gathers. Hey, look, it's looking like we may need to pull it in a little bit more. See how it's looking. kind of hard because I am trying to make sure I'm not pinning to the free edge here, or that edge that we have to keep free. So that's why it's being a little bit difficult here, and it's a little hard to see as well. Definitely think we need to pull it in a little bit here. So let's try to find our gather strings and pull those, pull it in a little bit. I'm just using my fingers here to kind of work the fabric along here. Alright, so that was quite a bit of an adjustment. Let's see how that did. And I'm also trying to keep the gathering straight. Because I have no idea how I'm gonna get this sewn, so but we'll worry about that when we get there. Okay. I think I'm all pinned in. And this is how the sleeve is looking. It's looking pretty good, I think. All right. All right. So I did a little bit more pinning off camera. It's a very difficult pin together for some reason. I don't know if I'm just misreading some instructions or if it's just how it is. But yeah, basically I just kind of went around and rearranged a lot of the pins. But this is us, we're all pinned up here. And we're gonna try to sew it as best we can. We're gonna go ahead and head over to our sewing machine. All right, we are back at the sewing machine here with our trying to sew the sleeves to the cuff. All right. And I remove the pin there. It's very lumpy and I have lots of pins in there. So I just got to be very careful. Hopefully I can see them all. There's one right there. Just gotta lift my foot up a little bit to grab that guy. Okay, just trying my best to keep everything as smooth as I can, even though we're in a bunch situation here. Just trying to make sure these two pieces of fabric stay together here. I think if I just take it slow, we'll get there. And just readjusting as we go along here. Trying to maintain that 5/8, but I don't think we're going to get there. It's just a little too much fabric to try to sew over, so I'll do my best here. Just try to get it close there. And remove the pin there. Good, we're almost in. Just gotta hang on a little bit longer. Okay, just gonna double check and make sure where we're trying to finish at, we're actually finishing on some fabric here. And put in a couple back stitches there. Alright, I think that ordeal is over. Alright, so we'll take a look and see how we did, see if we need to take anything loose back at the table. Alright, we are back at the table just to take a look at our work here. So we just stitched the sleeve to the cuff, and so it looks pretty good. I did a little cleanup here. Might have to do a little bit more cleanup off camera to trim some of the strings that are kind of sticking out here. But yeah, I can definitely clean that up. But here's what it looks like. Pretty good. Looks okay. Looks even better from far away when you can't see all the little mistakes. But yeah, so that's our cuff to our sleeve. And so now we're going to sew First, we gotta turn the sleeve inside out here so you can see what we're gonna do for our next step. And like the next step is basically um, stitching this loose edge here uh, over uh, over our um, ruffles or our gathers that we just made here. Basically, kind of hiding that with the edge of the cuff. And it also says to give the cuff to press it out as well. So I'll probably do that. Might do that off camera. But yeah, so basically I'm going to, it wants to pin the pressed edge of the cuff over the seam. So here's the seam. And basically pin this edge over that, like so. And on the outside, spread the seam with fingers until previous stitching is visible. So basically kind of pulling that up until we can see the previous seam here. And then it says stitch on top of the previous stitching, catching in the press edge of the facing on the inside. So that's catching, make sure we're catching this edge when we sew right on top of there, like that. So I'll go ahead and let's go ahead and pin this so we can get ready to sew it. Grab my pins here. So basically we're gonna be doing our seam right on top of there. So I'm just gonna throw some pins here just to guide us along. Trying to make sure we stay on top of it as much as possible, because this stitch is, you're gonna be able to see this on the other side of the cuff here. So we don't want to try to make another whole separate line, but we may end up doing that just because of how it looks. Yeah, we're trying to stay on the existing, but it is all the same color. So I think even if we go off a little bit, we would still be okay. So just kind of going along here. And I may need to go ahead and press that a little bit. That'll help maybe lay it down a little. because we did press it before. Just trying to make sure we cover everything and that it is flat as much as possible. Okay, so we got everything pinned. I think we're ready to sew. I might want to adjust a little bit here because here's our crease is like here, so I might need to release these a little bit. Okay. I need to tuck that one a little bit more, that end. Just gonna use my pin here to see if I can get this down under there. Okay. So let's go ahead and head back over to our sewing machine so we can put in this stitch here. Maybe put one more pin here. Just checking the little spots here and there. Okay. Probably maybe put another one right here. Okay. All right, let's give it a go. We'll go ahead and head back over to our sewing machine. Okay, we are back positioned on our sewing machine here, and I'm just gonna try to follow this line here, and sew that stitch. Okay, and here we go. Move the pin. Get a little bit of a wrinkle going on here. release this pin to see if I can smooth that out a little bit. Hopefully, we're still good. Take that pin out. Just kind of reposition a little bit. Take this pin out too. Almost to the end for this guy too. Alright. Let's do a little bit of repositioning. And that was our last pin. And back stitch, finish off. Alright, let's go see how we did. And hopefully we won't have to undo anything. So let's go back to the table. Okay, we are back at the table here. And just as I thought, I did get off track here quite a bit. As you can see, this is the sewing line, and then this is where the existing stitch is. So I'm definitely gonna have to fix this from here to here. Not sure why my cuff is so long back here. So I'll go ahead and take this apart and see if I can re-sew that. Also got off a little bit here and here. So I may just take this all apart and just try to go again. It's pretty rough looking. And that's just not gonna work out. So let me do those corrections and I will be back and we can move on with our next piece of our project, which would be we're going to start working on the collar next. Well, actually, we'll be attaching but attaching the sleeves, pinning and attaching and stitching the sleeves onto the bodice of the dress. So that'll be what we'll work on next: the collar, the sleeves, finishing up the sleeves, and then moving on to the collar. All right, everybody, we are back at the table. So I went off camera and fixed my issue that I had here with joining the cuff to the sleeve. So I fixed that. At least I fixed it on the outside. Still pretty rough on the inside. This cuff I must have cut it improperly or something, because it's definitely got some issues with symmetry, among other things. So yeah, but this is on the inside, So you won't really see this because the cuff doesn't roll up. So it's always the outside cuff. So that kind of works in our favor on that one. But yeah, it's definitely, this cuff was definitely not even. I can just kind of see here. And then of course, unfortunately, when we kind of turn it on the back here, and when we're gonna try to line it up, um, you see it's off. It's off about almost about an inch or so. So I'm not quite sure what happened there. Um, well, it looks like it's the right size here, but I don't know, my sewing got off when I was attaching the cuff. I should have been further up this way with my 5/8. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I think we can. I think we'll manage by doing something. Trying to arrange the buttons um, as best we can. And this is going to be kind of on the underside of the cuff, so hopefully no one will see our issues there. But yeah, so I think what may have happened is I may have been trying to cut too many pieces at the same time, and maybe that messed with the actual shape of the pattern, because my other sleeve turned out fine. And my other cuff, I mean, turned out fine. And it's just this one, it was just oddly shaped. I guess I kind of noticed that when I had the all four pieces lined up. I was like, this cuff actually looks like it's a lot bigger than the other cuff. So I should have kind of that should have kind of flagged something for me then, that something might be wrong with the way this particular cuff is cut. But nonetheless, we'll make do and we'll keep moving. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pin our sleeve into our bodice. So let me get our bodice here off of my mannequin. And as you can see, I've already put one sleeve on here. That was just kind of like my practice sleeve, but that one turned out really good as far as the cut and everything, right on the money. But this other guy, don't know what happened with it. But so basically, we're going to pin our remaining sleeve, into our bodice here. So here's our armhole, like that. Except so that was the finished side. This is the side that we're gonna do next here. We're gonna pin our sleeve into this section right here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll be right sides together, pinning this. So our right side is here. And we do have some notches to follow. So we got some notches here and here. So that's the right side of our bodice. here. And then this is the right side of our sleeve. So let's see, it'll go like this. So I'm gonna line up my side seam here. Just gonna throw a pin right there for now. And then our notches here, so here's a notch, should line up as well. And thankfully they do. So at some point I cut something right. And then we're just gonna, we also have a notch over here on this side as well that we can line up, use to line up here. Okay, and then I'll just continue on with our pinning all the way up one side and then up the other side. Just trying to make sure everything is lined up properly, because we don't want any more mistakes here. So this is supposed to go all the way up here this side. Let's put a pin here. And then make sure our end lines up as best we can over here. And it's got to make sure my gathers up there stay clear. I may actually take a couple of stitches out just so we clear this 5/8 seam allowance right here, because my gathers actually start way back here on the collar. So I can pull a couple of those out. And I'm just gonna put another pin right here. So we got that side done. And let's go up our other side here. And just trying to make sure I'm catching everything, because we do have a lining layer we're also working with on this piece. Okay. All right, so we're all pinned up here. We're a little over on this piece. So I think I'm just gonna leave it. Probably just end up leaving that long there. Or maybe I can, let me check a couple of pins here because we got a little bit of fabric left over. So let me just check some of these. Make sure we're not pulling anything extra here. Just gonna reposition some of these. I'm gonna take these out. Take that one out. Take this one at the end out and just kind of repin. That might get us a little closer to even edge. Like so. Still looks like we're a little off at the edge there. So I'm just gonna leave that. Cause yeah, we're still a little short here. But the other side lined up pretty good. The side seams lined up really good. So we'll just try to work through that on the sewing machine as we go up the side here. But everything else looks pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and head over to the sewing machine and get this sleeve attached. All right, we are back at the sewing machine. So let's go ahead and finish up the sleeve. Here we go. Taking out the pin there. Just kind of itch my way. Might need to stick that pin back in. Because we are, or I can probably just hold it like this. Just to make sure we remain together here. So we're gonna do a stitch at we're at our 5/8, and then we're gonna do another stitch at the 1/4 mark. Just gonna move my camera back a little bit so I can get in here. Take out our pin there. Just gonna double check to make sure we're nice and smooth under here. because I know we're coming up on our side seam here. Okay, let's do a little bit of repositioning. Taking out our pins as we maneuver along the way here. Taking a peek under here to make sure everything is flat. Okay, just gonna double check this. What's going on under here? Make sure we stay flat and in line as well. And we're almost here at the end. Last pin, and then I'll try to hold it here. And then we'll back up a couple stitches. Alright. So we got that done. And we're gonna stay here at the sewing machine since we have to do the same thing, just at a 1/4 distance of side seam. So I'm just going to get us back in position again here so we can start again. Just trying to find out where I want to do this here. We'll stay on the black side because I think that's what we started with at the beginning. Yeah. Okay. And let's try to get us here in here. Making sure we stay clear of our other things. So 1/4 is about here. So just kind of right along there. So let's do that. Okay, almost. And I see the end almost here. Just trying to make sure we're nice and flat so we're not catching anything. That we're not supposed to. And a couple of back stitches to lock in. Alright, so let's head back over to the table and see how we did. Okay, we are back at the table and our sleeve, our final sleeve is in our bodice. So that's kind of how we're looking right here. Got both sleeves in. Looking pretty good. I'll actually I'll pin it on the mannequin so you can kind of get a good view of our progress and how everything looks. So give me a second while I get everything pinned on the mannequin, and then we'll go and take a look. All right, everybody. So I got the top half of the dress pinned on the mannequin. So there it is, sleeves and all. Just missing the collar and the bottom piece. So I think we're doing pretty good. Just get a little bit closer. There's our sleeves here. It's looking really nice. I'm very pleased so far, even though I've had issues. So that's it. Let's keep going.